Stop throwing this away, your garden's most powerful free resource. 1. The Saturday morning mistake. Picture this scene. Last weekend, somewhere in a quiet neighborhood, a home gardener spent 20 minutes pulling dead leaves and garden debris into a pile by the back fence. He scooped it all into a bin bag, dragged it to the curb, and felt good about the tidy yard he left behind. 3 days later, he walked into a hardware store and spent $34 on a bag of compost. The label advertised rich organic matter, improved soil structure, beneficial microbial activity. What nobody told him was that the pile sitting at the curb 2 days earlier contained every single one of those things. He had literally paid a company to give him back what he had just thrown away. That scene is not unusual. It happens in neighborhoods across the country every single week, and it raises an uncomfortable question that the garden industry has very little financial interest in answering. Why do so many gardeners spend real money on organic matter when their own garden produces it constantly, freely, without being asked? Here is the number that reframes the entire picture. The global compost and soil amendment market is projected to exceed $80 billion within the next few years. A significant portion of that money is being spent by people who already own the raw ingredients. They are sitting on a weekly supply of nitrogen, carbon, minerals, and living biology, bagging it up and writing a check to get it back in a branded package. The reason this keeps happening is not ignorance. Most of these gardeners are experienced. They care about their plants. They read the labels. The reason is that somewhere along the way, a very old idea got quietly replaced by a very convenient product. And the idea that got replaced is the one that fed civilizations for longer than most countries have existed.
2. What 4,000 years of farming already knew. Long before there were garden centers, before there were fertilizer bags or soil test kits, before there was even a word for compost, farmers in ancient civilizations understood one thing with absolute clarity. The ground gives, and the ground must receive. In the agricultural valleys of ancient Mesopotamia, farmers noticed that fields flooded by seasonal rivers came back stronger every year without any human intervention. The water carried decomposed organic material from upstream forests and riverbanks and deposited it across the floodplain. The soil was being fed by the same cycle that created it. Those early farmers did not need a chemistry degree to understand the principle. They just watched what the river did and started imitating it by hand. Organic matter went in, crops came out. Nothing useful left the loop. The same understanding appeared independently across wildly different cultures and continents. In pre-Columbian South America, indigenous farmers developed a technique called terra preta, which translates roughly as dark earth. They buried charred plant material, fish bones, kitchen scraps, and organic debris deep into otherwise poor tropical soils. Those patches of dark earth, some of them over 2,000 years old, are still measurably more fertile today than the surrounding untreated ground. No chemical amendment has ever matched what those farmers achieved by closing their organic loop completely. In medieval Europe, peasant farmers who could not afford to waste anything developed intensive rotational systems that kept the same strips of land productive for generations. Crop residues went back to the soil. Household waste went to the compost heap. Ash from winter fires went onto the garden beds. Nothing organic left the farm. The pattern is not coincidence. It is not cultural accident. It is the oldest principle in agriculture, and it works for a reason that modern soil science has now confirmed at the molecular level. Healthy soil is alive. It contains more distinct microbial species per teaspoon than there are humans on Earth. Those microbes break down organic matter, release locked-up minerals, build physical structure, and protect plant roots from disease. They need one thing to thrive: organic material. The same stuff getting bagged and hauled away every single week.
3. The leaf that became the most wasted resource in the garden. Most gardeners know that leaves decompose. What most do not realize is how aggressively powerful that process is and how much it is being wasted. A single mature oak tree drops enough leaves in autumn to produce roughly a cubic yard of finished leaf mold by the following spring. Leaf mold is not compost in the traditional sense. It does not produce a dramatic burst of nitrogen. What it does is build soil structure in a way that almost nothing else can match. The fungal networks that break down autumn leaves produce a sticky, fibrous substance called glomalin, which binds soil particles together into stable clumps called aggregates. Those aggregates create air pockets. Air pockets let roots breathe and expand. They let water drain without waterlogging. They let the soil hold moisture without compacting. In short, leaf mold turns heavy clay into workable loam. It turns sandy soil into something that retains water. It is the closest thing to universal soil medicine that any garden can produce, and it requires almost no work. Here's the method. After autumn leaf fall, rake the leaves into a rough pile in a corner of the yard. If a pile of loose leaves seems unwieldy, stuff them into black bin bags, poke a dozen holes in the sides for airflow, and leave them in an out-of-the-way spot. Within 12 months, the material at the bottom of the pile will have transformed into something crumbly, dark, and faintly earthy. Within 18 months, the entire pile will have broken down into a fine, consistent amendment, ready to dig into planting beds, spread around fruit trees, or used as a mulch layer that slowly feeds everything beneath it through the growing season. No ingredients required, no turning necessary, no purchase involved. The only thing this method needs is time, and autumn provides the raw material for free every single year. One important detail: whole leaves break down slowly. Running a lawnmower over a pile shreds them into fragments that decompose up to 4 times faster. A single pass over a leaf pile with a rotary mower can cut the production time for leaf mold in almost half. That is the most useful 40 seconds in the autumn garden.
4. The weed problem nobody told you was actually a solution. Here's a thought that sounds wrong until you sit with it for a moment. Weeds are not the enemy. They are the garden's response to a soil problem the gardener has not fixed yet. Dandelions push taproots deep into compacted ground to break up hard layers and bring up minerals that shallow roots cannot reach. Dock and plantain colonize acidic, waterlogged areas and signal drainage problems that will ruin crops if ignored. Nettles appear where nitrogen is available but not being used. They are not robbing the garden of fertility. They are telling the gardener where fertility is being left on the table. Ancient farmers understood this intuitively. Modern weed science has confirmed it with data. But here's the practical application most gardening advice still skips past. Weeds that are pulled before they set seed do not belong in the waste bin. They belong in a bucket of water. The fermented weed tea method has been used in some form in traditional European cottage gardens for well over 2 centuries. Pack a large container with freshly pulled weeds. Nettles are the best possible ingredient. Comfrey is a close second. Dandelion, chickweed, and cleavers all contribute. Cover entirely with water. Weight the greens down if needed to keep them submerged. Cover the top loosely to keep insects out, while still allowing gas to escape. Leave it for 2 weeks, stirring every few days. The smell will be deeply unpleasant. That is not a problem. That is the nitrogen releasing from the plant tissue and dissolving into the water. When the brew turns dark brown and stops actively bubbling, strain out the solids. Dilute the liquid 10 parts water to 1 part tea. Pour it directly onto the soil around any actively growing plants. The results are visible within days. Stronger color, firmer stems, faster growth. The solids left behind are still rich in carbon and mineral content. They can go into a compost pile or spread thinly around established shrubs. Nothing is wasted. The weeds that were pulling nutrients upward from deep in the soil profile have just been converted into a completely free, highly concentrated plant feed. The weed patch was never the problem. It was the supply chain the whole time.
5. The no-cost soil builder working underground right now. Most gardeners think about feeding their plants. Fewer think about feeding their soil. The distinction matters enormously. A plant fed with synthetic nutrients gets a direct hit of available chemistry. Growth happens quickly, but the living infrastructure below the surface does not benefit. Over time, it degrades. The soil's ability to hold nutrients, retain moisture, and support roots quietly declines, while the gardener keeps buying more product to compensate. A soil that is fed with organic matter gets something different. The microbes and fungi that process that material build physical structure as they work. They release nutrients slowly in response to what plant roots are actually demanding. They create the conditions for the next generation of crops to perform even better than this one. The practice of sheet mulching, sometimes called the lasagna method, is the most direct way to feed the soil without digging, turning, or purchasing anything. Collect everything available: cardboard boxes broken flat, autumn leaves, grass clippings, kitchen vegetable scraps, spent coffee grounds, any organic material the household produces. Lay cardboard directly over bare or weedy ground. Overlap the edges generously to block light completely. Wet it down thoroughly, then layer the organic material on top. Alternate carbon-heavy materials like dry leaves and cardboard with nitrogen-rich materials like grass clippings and kitchen scraps. Build it up 8 to 12 inches high, then walk away. Over the following months, the layered material breaks down in place. Earthworms migrate upward from the soil below and begin processing everything from the bottom up. The cardboard suppresses weeds completely without any chemical. The decomposing layers above it slowly build a deep, structured growing medium directly where it is needed. By the following planting season, what was compacted, weedy, difficult ground has become a soft, biologic-rich growing bed that needs no digging and no amendment. The materials cost nothing. The labor takes an afternoon. The result is the kind of soil that experienced gardeners spend years trying to build.
6. The last ingredient nobody thinks to use. There is one more resource in the garden that consistently gets overlooked. Not because it is hard to access, not because it requires any preparation, but because most people have never been told to look at it differently. Rainwater. The water that falls on a roof, runs off gutters, and disappears into a drain carries dissolved organic compounds absorbed from the atmosphere during its descent. It arrives at ambient temperature, free of the chlorine and fluoride compounds found in municipal water supplies. Those compounds are harmless to humans, but measurably inhibit the beneficial microbial populations in soil. Rainwater does not have that problem. Plants watered consistently with collected rainwater show faster root development, better nutrient uptake, and stronger resistance to dry spells. A basic collection barrel under a downspout captures hundreds of gallons during a moderate rainfall event. Using that water for fermented teas, for diluting concentrated amendments, and for general garden watering removes one more unnecessary variable from the garden's chemistry. It also puts the gardener in a cleaner relationship with the biology they are trying to support. No chlorine slowing down the bacteria in the weed tea, no fluoride inhibiting the fungal networks in the mulch. Just water the way it fell before any pipes got involved.
The system that was never broken. Step back and look at everything described here. Leaves that become soil structure, weeds that become liquid fertilizer, kitchen scraps that become earthworm food, grass clippings that become mulch and compost, rainwater that becomes the cleanest possible growing medium. None of it requires a store. None of it requires a label or a formula. All of it was available to the first farmer who ever pushed a seed into the ground. The $80 billion soil amendment industry did not create these resources. It created a marketing system around the decision to throw them away first. The gardener who stops throwing things away is not doing something new or experimental. They are doing something old, something that built the fertile soils that every civilization in history depended on, something that the microbes, fungi, earthworms, and root systems in the garden are already fully equipped to work with. They have been waiting. The cardboard box from last week's delivery, the leaves gathering in the corner of the yard, the weeds along the fence line, the water running off the roof right now. None of it is waste. It never was. It is just the garden's supply chain sitting in plain sight, waiting for someone to stop walking past it.